In today's video, we're diving into one of the most intriguing mysteries of ancient history. Cleopatra's unknown child, the Roman heir silenced. Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, was known for her many affairs. But one of her most intriguing relationships was with Julius Caesar. Together, they had a child, a daughter named Cleopatra Selene. However, this wasn't the only child that came from this union. In 47 BC, Julius Caesar was assassinated, and Cleopatra's unborn child was also lost. Some believe that this child was a boy, and that he was the true heir to the Roman Empire. However, the Roman Senate silenced this claim, and the child's identity remains a mystery to this day. Before we begin with the whole story, don't forget to subscribe to help us grow our channel. Cleopatra's unknown child, the heir Rome silenced. In the shadowed corridors of ancient history, where whispers of ambition and betrayal echo through the centuries, there exists a figure obscured by time and empire, child born of two worlds, whose very existence threatened. This is the story of Cleopatra's unknown child, a son, perhaps even a daughter, whose blood carried the legacy of Egypt and Rome, whose life may have been deliberately erased by the very hand that wrote history. When one hears the name Cleopatra VII, it conjures images of a queen whose beauty and intellect captivated two of Rome's most powerful men, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Her life has been immortalized in poetry and film, yet beyond the allure lies a tangled web of dynastic ambitions, political warfare, and a lost heir who could have changed the fate of the ancient world. Most are familiar with Caesarion, the son Cleopatra bore to Julius Caesar. Born in 47 BCE and officially named Ptolemy, the 15th Philopator Caesar. He was proclaimed by his mother as coroner of Egypt at just 3 years old. He was paraded as Caesar's true heir and stood as a symbol of the union between Rome and Egypt. But Caesarion's fate was sealed the moment Octavian, later Augustus, emerged victorious at the Battle of Actium. When Cleopatra and Antony fell, Caesarion, still a teenager, was hunted down and executed on Octavian's orders. "Too many Caesars is not good," the future emperor is said to have remarked. But what if Caesarion was not Cleopatra's only child? In the turbulent final years of Cleopatra's reign, as Antony's military campaigns faltered and Roman political tides turned, history records the birth of 3 children twins, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene, and a younger son, Ptolemy Philadelphus, all fathered by Mark Antony. After the deaths of their parents in 30 BCE, these children were taken to Rome and paraded through the streets in Octavian's triumph, a cruel display of power intended to showcase Rome's dominance over Egypt. Cleopatra Selene eventually married King Juba II of Mauritania and lived a life marked by diplomacy and cultural fusion. The fates of Alexander Helios and Ptolemy Philadelphus, however, vanish into silence. No ancient historian tells us what became of them. Don't forget to subscribe to help us grow our channel. And yet, there are darker, more tantalizing threads hidden beneath the surface rumors of a 4th child. A child born in secrecy. A child who might have survived the fall of Alexandria and escaped Rome's tightening grip. Ancient scrolls and fragmentary records hint at an unnamed infant Cleopatra may have carried in the final months of her life. If true, this child would have been born amidst siege and bloodshed, while Alexandria was under attack by Octavian's forces. Cleopatra, facing ruin, would have had every reason to conceal the birth. For such a child, conceived perhaps by Antony, or even by an ambitious Egyptian noble, could have served as a final hope, a flickering torch of the Ptolemaic dynasty's survival. Egyptian mythology held that the royal bloodline was sacred, passed from Isis to her divine descendants. Cleopatra, who portrayed herself as Isis incarnate, would not have taken the possibility of her dynasty's extinction lightly. In a desperate act of legacy preservation, could she have entrusted her newborn to loyal followers? Could a secret escape have been made through the chaos, out to the Red Sea, or across the desert to distant Nubia, or even India, where Hellenistic colonies still existed? These are not idle speculations. Some late Roman sources speak cryptically of the child who vanished, and the living pharaoh beyond the sands. In the 4th century CE, chroniclers such as Ammianus, Marcellinus, and even later Arab historians mention a line of foreign rulers in remote lands who claim descent from the great Queen of the Nile. Though no names are given, the implication is clear. Cleopatra's line did not die in Rome's shadow. Don't forget to subscribe to help us grow our channel. Even more intriguing is the archaeological mystery surrounding the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. In 1999, researchers uncovered inscriptions dating far later than expected, suggesting the temple was still in ceremonial use well after the Roman conquest. Among the faded reliefs is one particularly haunting image, a woman in royal garb, cradling a child whose headdress is unlike any worn by known Ptolemies. The hieroglyphs name the infant not as Caesarion but as Set Penra, or Chosen of Ra, a divine title never associated with Caesarion or Cleopatra's known children. Could this be the forgotten heir, enshrined in secrecy and protected by loyal priests? Rome had every reason to obliterate such a figure. Augustus's claim to power relied on the narrative that he had brought peace to a fractured world by defeating the eastern threat of Cleopatra and Antony. Any surviving child of theirs, especially one raised in exile, would be a living challenge to that peace. It would only take one pretender to rise with an army of the disaffected to shatter Rome's fragile order. Thus, the child could not merely be killed, he or she had to be erased. The Romans were masters of propaganda and historical control. They manipulated public memory, destroyed monuments, rewrote records. Caesarion, despite being a pharaoh and Caesar's own son, is scarcely mentioned in surviving Roman accounts. Cleopatra's other children disappear into the fog of time. If there was a fifth child, no knowledge, unnamed, unseen, would have taken little effort to ensure they vanished completely from the historical record. But truth has a way of surviving in whispers. In Coptic manuscripts hidden in desert monasteries, fragments of stories endure. One tells of a child of the serpent crown smuggled across the Nile under the protection of those who wear the leopard skin, likely a reference to Egyptian priests. Another speaks of a woman in whose veins flowed the blood of Rome and Kemet, who founded a hidden city beyond the Pillars of Fire. Scholars have debated these texts for centuries, dismissing them as metaphor or myth. Yet myth often conceals memory. Don't forget to subscribe to help us grow our channel. If Cleopatra's unknown child survived, their legacy might live on in unsuspected places. Some scholars point to dynastic lines in Nubia and Aksum, whose royal rituals bear uncanny resemblance to those of the Ptolemies. Others suggest that Cleopatra Selene may have protected her sibling in secret, using her marriage to Juba II as a cover for political maneuvering. Juba himself was no stranger to adoption and survival. He had been taken as a child to Rome after his father's defeat, raised in Caesar's own household. Who better to shelter a child hunted by emperors? The idea of Cleopatra's bloodline surviving beyond the grasp of Rome is both thrilling and terrifying. It challenges the carefully curated narrative of Western civilization's triumph over the East. It forces us to consider that history as we know it is not simply a record of what happened, but of what was permitted to be remembered. Perhaps somewhere, hidden beneath layers of sand and time, lies the tomb of this unknown child. Perhaps DNA tests on forgotten remains will one day reveal a lineage that defies everything we've been told. Until then, we are left with the fragments, the shadows, the silences, the sudden absences in the historical record that hint at something greater. Cleopatra was no ordinary monarch. She was the last pharaoh of Egypt, a queen who spoke 9 languages, who negotiated with generals and philosophers, who played empires like a chessboard. She knew how to survive until she didn't. But it is unthinkable that such a calculating ruler, aware of the stakes, would leave her legacy so vulnerable. The idea that she placed all her hopes in Caesarion alone seems inconsistent with the cunning and foresight she demonstrated throughout her reign. In the end, the story of Cleopatra's unknown child is not just about a missing royal or a hidden heir. It is about power, who gets to have it, who gets to write about it, and who must be forgotten to preserve it. It is about the possibility that in the final days of one of history's most remarkable women, mid betrayal, despair, and ruin, there remained a flicker of resistance. A child born not only of blood, but of destiny. We may never know the name of this lost child. We may never uncover their tomb or trace their descendants. But in the silence that surrounds their story, there is a kind of roar, a defiance that speaks through time, a refusal to be erased. And perhaps, just perhaps, that is the true legacy of Cleopatra, not her death in the arms of a dying empire, but the life she may have hidden away from the empire's gaze, a final move by a queen who never stopped fighting. If you enjoyed this video and want more fascinating stories from history, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us uncover more untold tales from the past. Thank you for watching. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks again.